My point is, if they did that, and they did that, it would behoove who? Well, all the central banks, they're the ones buying it all. And if it is indeed going to be part of a new system, and we're trying to put all of these systems together, a common system, as we were talking about, wouldn't it benefit the common system if it's all going to be tied to gold and blockchain? Then it would benefit everyone. And now you not only have a balance sheet where all of your money is not going to exponentially increasing interest payments, but instead to maybe trying to pay down the debt. Yes, it creates inflation, but it will never come back down at that point. That's why guys like Jim Sinclair, God rest his soul, always said gold will go to a level no one thinks possible, and it will be pegged to a new system and never come down. I mean, I think that is what will happen. I think it's too hard to ignore.
Gold prices have soared this year, consistently reaching new all-time highs above $2,680 per ounce. The spot price of gold has risen approximately 30% year-to-date, reflecting a significant increase since early March when it broke through the $2,000 mark. If this trend continues, 2024 may see the highest annual return for gold since 2007, a remarkable 30.9% increase. This surge has reignited discussions around the revaluation of gold reserves as a strategy for stabilizing national economies. Many countries, including the United States, still report outdated valuations for their gold holdings. For example, the U.S. lists its gold at just $42.22 per ounce, a price established decades ago. Financial expert Andy Schectman suggests that a substantial revaluation of gold could occur, potentially driving its price to as high as $150,000 per ounce. Such an increase would dramatically transform national balance sheets from negative to solvent, providing countries with renewed financial stability in an increasingly uncertain economic landscape. While media narratives often attribute the current gold bull run to central bank purchases, the reality is more nuanced. Central banks aim to keep their transactions discreet to avoid influencing market prices. Institutions like the Bank of England and the Bank for International Settlements, BIS, secretly coordinate gold purchases and swaps, ensuring these moves do not disrupt the market. Even nations like China and Russia, both members of the BIS, exercise caution in their gold acquisitions. For instance, China deliberately avoided purchasing International Monetary Fund (IMF) gold in 2010 to prevent triggering market speculation, underscoring the importance of maintaining price stability and the complexity of the gold market. Moreover, the increasing interest in gold-backed currencies among BRICS nations signals a broader shift away from dependency on the US dollar in global trade. Now, we present the clips of Andy Schectman's insights from his recent interview. Before we continue to discuss this, please subscribe to our channel and activate the bell icon for timely updates.
It means that it needs to be higher in terms of its dollar price, for sure. I mean, and we've had the head of the Dutch National Bank talk about this for quite some time. And ironically, in fact, you can't make it up, Michelle, gold is held on central bank balance sheets and accounts called the gold revaluation account. And, you know, the head of the Dutch National Bank says, look, we got all this money in the revaluation account that we currently cannot offset against our liabilities, but why don't we revalue the price of gold and do just that? Because in Europe, gold is on everyone's balance sheet at 35 bucks an ounce. In the US, it's 42.22. I would guess they valued it last and did some legal declaration sometime in the early 70s, right after they set it free from its $35 an ounce price. But that is what it is on the books of the US government. And, you know, it makes a lot of sense, actually. And we saw that with Roosevelt over my shoulder there. That's what he did. He confiscated gold, he revalued it, and by 40% by depreciating the dollar. And it takes on a greater significance in my mind when we see Cynthia Lummis, the senator from Oklahoma or from Wyoming, who got up on stage at the Bitcoin conference just a couple months ago in Tennessee, where Trump said, yeah, I want to build a Bitcoin strategic account. And she said, yeah, I want to float a bill that revalues the gold that the Fed is holding on behalf of the Treasury and to a level high enough to buy Bitcoin for this account. And, you know, in a world where, and by the way, Luke Gromen is one of the smartest human beings on the planet. I try and follow everything that he says, and I agree with him. But in a world where Bitcoin and, you know, Michael Saylor, I think I've watched that interview you did with him. He'd be the first one to tell you it goes to 150,000 or 200,000 or a million, right? So why can Bitcoin go to 150,000 but gold can't? Why do we think that's okay and the other isn't? And I would just simply say, you put gold at $150,000 an ounce, as crazy as that sounds, your balance sheet now is pristine, goes from putrid to pristine like that. And who's to say we couldn't do it? We'll just tell every country on the planet, send us your gold, we'll buy it. We'll pay 150,000 an ounce for it. That is what it is. I mean, in China right now, silver's $4 an ounce higher than it is in the West. That is what it is if you can deliver it there. My point is, if they did that, and they did that, it would behoove who? Well, all the central banks. They're the ones buying it all. And if it is indeed going to be part of a new system, and we're trying to put all of these systems together, a common system, as we were talking about, wouldn't it benefit the common system if it's all going to be tied to gold and blockchain? Then it would benefit everyone. And now you not only have a balance sheet where all of your money is not going to exponentially increasing interest payments, but instead to maybe trying to pay down the debt. Yes, it creates inflation, but it will never come back down at that point. That's why guys like Jim Sinclair, God rest his soul, always said, gold will go to a level no one thinks possible, and it will be pegged to a new system and never come down. I mean, I think that is what will happen. I think it's too hard to ignore. You know, Richard Russell always said, inflate or default, that's all the Fed can do. For the last 4 years, I said, find a villain, Xi Jinping and Putin and OPEC. They did it to us. And they incentivizing them to dump the dollar as the reserve currency. We've talked about what that looks like. But how about option 4? Just simply revalue the gold holdings if they really are there, the 8,330 metric tons that haven't been audited forever, and revalue it to a level that then makes our balance sheet balanced with, you know, the liabilities with our now higher asset level, and it's a different game. Could that happen? I think if Trump beats him to the punch, if Trump were elected and they beat him to the punch, beat the West, the East or the South rather, the BRICS to the punch of currency revaluation and tying it to gold, that is how it would give us, I think, an advantage. It would give us, it would neutralize perhaps much of the world's desire to move away if indeed we showed, here's the new deal. We realize we've made a mistake. We realize we've kind of squandered the good graces of our foreign creditors, and we're going to make up for that by going this way because we've gone too far down the line to really pay it off. So we're going to revalue gold. We're going to honor that price. We're going to peg it to a new system, and it will be transparent for everyone to see. These transgressions will never happen again.
Recent developments surrounding gold-backed currencies and the Bank for International Settlements BIS role indicate a significant transformation in the global financial landscape. In 2017, the Bundesbank's call for gold repatriation from Western banks was particularly striking, given the backdrop of declining gold prices and a trend of central banks divesting their gold reserves. This unexpected demand catalyzed a wave of gold repurchases by various nations, which collectively acquired more gold than they had in the previous 60 years. This shift aligns with the BIS's 2019 classification of gold as a Tier 1 asset, highlighting its renewed importance in global finance. The launch of Project Enbridge introduces a new settlement currency system that enables countries to mint currencies backed by their domestically held gold, diminishing reliance on Western central authorities and empowering nations to exert greater control over their financial assets. Andy asserts that the inclusion of Saudi Arabia underscores the initiative's significance, as it diversifies financial partnerships and contributes to a broader movement away from the dollar-centric system that has prevailed since World War I.
But one of the things that, as we talk about the meeting, one of the things that I think is important to understand, and you mentioned the Bank of International Settlements is standing behind Project Enbridge, the way that the Bank of International Settlements has done things, and I don't know if I'm reaching for this or not, but I'll give you, I guess, my take on this because it's interesting. It's interesting in the respect that in 2017, when the Bundesbank made a very public declaration after a few years of trying to get their gold back from the West, from the New York Federal Reserve and the Bank of England, it was unusual. It was unusual because gold had been falling for 6 straight years and central banks had been selling gold. Now, why is the Bundesbank making such a big deal about this was my overwhelming thought, like, why? What's the deal? But what became more interesting to me, exponentially more so, was that within weeks of this happening, the Bank of Austria, Turkey, Hungary, Poland, the Czech National Bank, the Dutch National Bank, all of these banks followed suit, both with the New York Federal Reserve and the Bank of England. You see, forever, countries would hold their gold at the Bank of England and the New York Fed to give them access to the LBMA and to the COMEX, Western jurisdiction safety and Western rule of law. And then in 2018, after all of these banks bringing back their gold, which was strange enough, they all bought gold to the tune of more gold than combined than they did in the 60 years previously combined. Those same banks bought more gold as a group than they did in the 60 years previously combined. They doubled that amount in 2019. And then I guess if you believe it was coincidence, let's just say I don't, the BIS said, oh, by the way, all gold is now a tier 1 asset. Now that, to me, it reeks of the fact that they were warned. Get your gold, start buying it, bring it home. It's now tier 1, on par with U.S. dollars and treasuries, the only tier 1 assets we've had since the end of World War II, at least in terms of central bank money. And so that's kind of the setup, if you will, for what we've seen lately as it pertains to the new settlement currency and Project Enbridge, because one thing that's been very interesting that I've noticed, and just a simple Google search will show you that over the last year and a half, these are the banks, and probably others, that have openly brought their gold back from the Bank of England and the New York Fed. Germany, Austria, Slovakia, Argentina, the Netherlands, Saudi Arabia just a few weeks ago, Hungary, Belgium, Egypt, Senegal, Romania, Nigeria, Poland, Ghana, India. That's an interesting one. They had 100 metric tons at the Bank of England. They brought that home. It's been there since 91. And they bought 1.5 times the amount of gold that they bought all of last year, just within the first 4 months of this year, brought all that home too. Why are they bringing it home? Turkey, France, Serbia, Venezuela, Algeria, Cameroon, South Africa, Czechoslovakia, the list goes on. But all of these central banks brought all of their gold home. Now, conventional wisdom will tell you that's because of the weaponization of the treasury market. These banks, you remember where Venezuela asked their gold to be returned from the Bank of England, and they said, no, not going to do that. We don't like the way that you're running your country. We're going to keep it. So that's conventional wisdom, and I understand that's probably part of it. But if you look deeply at the new proposed settlement currency, the unit, which I know we'll get into, it talks about that these countries are able to mint this new settlement token using the gold held within their own borders. In other words, the gold will not need to be sent to Moscow, to Beijing, to Dubai, to a central authority, as the West has done it forever. And now each and every one of these countries will be able to hold their gold within their own borders. And we'll get deeper into that as we speak. So I think as we look at this from a mile high, I would say the BIS does things this way. The BIS will tell the parties involved, get your house in order, start doing this because things are about to change. And you missed one other very, very important part of Project Enbridge. You are right. It was designed by China, Hong Kong, Thailand, and the UAE, and backed by the BIS Innovation Hub. But the fifth full member now is Saudi Arabia. And this is a platform that is not compatible with US dollars. So to see Saudi Arabia become a full participant in Project Enbridge with up to 25 or 30 observational is a very big deal. And the crumbs are leading us down this path that we'll talk about. So yeah, I think this is let's call it a quickening, if you will, an acceleration of this movement, of this de-dollarization, and into a new system that potentially could indeed be backed by gold.
Central banks are strategically accumulating gold, hinting at a potential revaluation that could impact the global economy significantly. This trend emphasizes the importance of a gold standard, providing countries with leverage in international finance. The revaluation may help central banks manage debt and inflation without leading to hyperinflation or default. As more people recognize gold's value, its availability will likely dwindle, making proactive investment essential. Drop your thoughts on Andy's analysis in the comment section below. If you find this video informative, don't forget to support our channel and turn on notifications to stay informed about our latest videos. See you in the next video.